Hello and welcome into We the Peasants podcast. Mr. Dadbod here. Lots of stuff going on. There is so much stuff going on in the government and around the world that it would make your head spin. Let's talk about first this deal with Elon Musk. So basically, he has left the federal government. He was signed on with a contract to help them out. But that contract was only going to last for a few months, and the time frame is up, and a lot of people are saying, all kinds of stuff. I don't know the real answer. I don't know what's really going on, but this is my take on it. I think that Elon Musk was hired to find the waste, the fraud, the wasteful government spending. And he did that. He found trillions of dollars being wasted, and his team uncovered fraud like you have never seen before. Funding other countries, funding wars, terrorist attacks, funding all of these different things that were labeled under USAID, Act Blue, just random names that they came up with to put everything under. But nevertheless, it was taking taxpayer money, stealing it, laundering it, and making them rich. So, as they uncovered all of this, Elon Musk and his team, they presented it. They showed all the evidence, how it was true, and that it was happening. Nothing's being done about it. Okay? Why on earth would a man who is worth $400 billion continue to work for a government that he's trying to help find all the waste, fraud, and all of the taxpayer money being stolen? If he's finding it and presenting all of the evidence ironclad and nothing is being done, why would you stay? Why keep finding it? I mean, nothing's going to be done about it, so it's time to go, move on to other projects. Because nothing is being done. And then, you've got the big, beautiful bill that's supposed to be being passed. Well, Elon Musk does not like that. Well, there's a reason he doesn't like it. Because just because he's a billionaire doesn't mean that he thinks that billionaires should get tons of breaks. Now, the only thing in the big, beautiful bill that is for the little guy like you and me is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and there is supposed to be no tax on Social Security. But I think the Social Security one went out the window, and the no tax on overtime, the way that is going to work is they're still going to take it out of your check. You'll still have to pay, taxes on that overtime. At the end of the year, you will get, if you file your taxes, you will get a portion of that money back. That is the way that they can force you, once again, to file your taxes. Instead of doing away with the IRS, which is a corrupt system, and we found that out, and they've toyed with the notion and floated it, that they were going to do away with the IRS completely. Now, in the big, beautiful bill, we have no tax on overtime, but they're going to still take it out of your paycheck and force you to file your taxes at the end of the year in order to get that rebate of that money back. Once again, a scam for the American people. So then you have Elon Musk. Like I said, he's worth $400 billion. This man sees this kind of stuff and says, why should I even be involved anymore? If they're just going to keep the corruption going, keep looking out for Congress, Senate, and the billionaire ultra elite class, what is the point in even helping, right? I mean, because in the beginning, we all heard about $5,000 Doge checks. Remember, those were going to go out, and those were going to be handed out to people who paid taxes and have had their tax money stolen and laundered and given to Congress and given to other countries. That went out the window. You don't hear no more about that. That's just gone. Now, the reason for that is they're not going to refund you for stealing your money. The system that they have created was created for them. This American dream, wake up, go to school, learn that, 9 to 5, or learn that 8 to 3, get that structure in. Then you venture off to college. You get in debt. You're getting a career, so that way you can fulfill that American dream. And then you go to work for a company, a corporation, a little guy, or whatever. And you work, and you work, and you work. And you make them rich. Well, you scrape by on whatever's left. And then you try your hardest to work until you're old enough to retire, which they've moved that so high now to the age of 70 before you can retire and enjoy any of your life and money, because the average lifespan of a human is 65 right now. Given the fact that they feed us nothing but preservatives and chemically induced food, that dwindles to way lower than 65, but that is the average age that people live to. So they moved the age to retire to 70. So in order to get your full Social Security benefits, you have to work until you're 70 years old. Most of the people that I know that have made it to retirement have been able to enjoy maybe a year, half a year, sometimes even shorter. And who gets to keep that money if something happens to you? The federal government. That's right. If you work your whole life putting into Social Security disability, and something happened to you before you can retire, your family does not get that money. The federal government keeps it. They consider it an entitlement. You get that only when you're entitled to get it, which is at the age of 70. Now, you can retire a little earlier. I think the earliest is 62 to 65, but it's basically cut in half of what you would get. If you wait till you're 70, then you can get the whole amount. But that's only because they want you to work as long as possible, because they hope and pray that you die before you get there, so that way they can keep that money. Social Security has never been drying up. Every person in the U.S. that is working is donating to it every paycheck. It's just because the federal government is stealing money from it. All of their so-called plans and bills that they put together over the course of the last couple hundred years, like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and all of these things that they put forth for us, so that way we could vote, right? We could have our voice heard. We could vote for who we want to be the president. We could vote for who we want to be in Congress and Senate. That way our voices are being heard. They're going to represent us. They're going to make sure we're taken care of. Well, when we've learned now that pretty much every president, besides a handful, has been installed, physically installed by the elites in the shadow government that is running within our government, has installed these people. They already knew who was going to win the elections before they were even started, because they need these people who can be controlled to keep the agenda moving forward. They have an amazing plan laid out for themselves. These people have got us into slavery, and we do it willingly because it's the American dream, is what we were told. We do it willingly. We go to work, we bust our backs, we practically kill ourselves for the scraps that they leave us, and then they tax. And now we know what they're doing with the money. We've learned that these people who have our best interest, these people are taking our money, sending it overseas to their own personal pet projects. They're laundering it. They're putting it in their pockets. They are all millionaires because of our tax dollars. There isn't one congressman or senator that is not a millionaire, or any former president that is not a millionaire. It was never, ever meant to be a career to where you could get rich. That was created to help the American people do your time and then get out and let someone else get in there. Fresh ideas. No, most of these people have been in there for 40, 50 years in Congress and in Senate in some way, shape, or form, and nothing is getting done for the American people. They've created the Fed. They gave you a credit score and told you that you need to abide by all of these rules and these laws that they put forward because of the Fed and their credit scoring system and all of this. And then in the end, the federal government is $37 trillion in debt. They can't even make their annual interest payments on $37 trillion. But if that was you, and it was your house or your truck or your credit card, and you were in debt and you couldn't pay that bill, you would be taken to court. They would sue you. They would take anything and everything they can from you to get their money back. Because the Fed, the interest rates, the loans, all of this stuff, they want you to be in debt. That's part of the American dream. Most people in the United States have more than one mortgage on their house because they had to take a second mortgage just to live. Because husband and wife both working isn't enough money to survive on. They have to take out mortgages, refinance, take out second mortgages on their house, buy cars so they can get back and forth to work, get credit cards, run them up so that way they can just survive, because what they make in money is not enough to survive. But that keeps you in debt, that keeps you into voluntary slavery. That keeps you going to that job and making sure that you work hard. So that way the federal government can take as much of the money that you make as possible, that is legal in their eyes, and you get left with the scraps, and you get left being in debt. They do not want you to ever get out of that role that they have put forward, the American dream. Now, if for some reason, by some magical miracle, you win the lottery or you go to Las Vegas and you win millions of dollars, and you think to yourself, okay, now I am out of that loop. And you try to, give some to your kids, you try to help out. If you give money to your kids and you don't consider it, even if it's a gift, they have to pay taxes on it again. So in order to help your family, you would have to make sure that you buy all of the stuff for them. Because if you just give them the money, now they have to pay taxes on it. It's a vicious cycle that they have us in. If you look at the Powerball and the Mega Millions, which there's millions of people out there in hopes and dreams that they will win that one day and they can stop this loop of the American dream and they could get out of voluntary slavery. They just hope and pray that they can get out of that voluntary slavery. But if you look at it, currently the Mega Millions is $228 million. If you win the Mega Millions, cash option is $90 million. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say it was $228 million? Yeah, it is. $228 million is what it is if you win. But if you decide to take the cash option right off the bat, they take more than half. and they leave you with $90 million. That's what you get. Then out of that $90 million, you have to pay 30% of it in taxes. And then you're in a different tax bracket, so you may have to pay an additional 15% at the end. Now, don't get me wrong. $90 million is a lot of money, and it would help my family and a lot of people in the world. But doesn't that seem like a scam? Well, it is. The lottery, the Powerball, Mega Millions, all these places are nonprofits owned by the federal government and ran by the individual states. So when you win $220 million and they give you a cash prize of $90 million, they keep the rest. Plus they get the taxes from it. But it's a nonprofit. Remember that. It's not for profit. That money they just automatically get, and they get to keep it. It's interesting. And whenever there's $1 billion prize, anything over $1 billion is always won in California and some small gas station that has never even been heard of. And no one ever sees or hears who claimed the ticket. And there's always a malfunction when they do the draw. Anything over $1 billion in the lottery, there's a malfunction. Something always happens to where they have to delay the draw. And then when it's all said and done, there was a winner in California at this really tiny gas station, and no one ever gets to know who it is. Interesting, right? That's exactly right. Because it's a whole nother episode that we'll go into, but you should look into Project Pegasus, which is a project that the federal government did starting in the 1950s, where they were sending subjects back in time through time travel, and they have been able to do that successfully with remote viewing, time travel, Project Pegasus, all these different things. And you could even watch it on Unexplained. The guy talks about how he went back to see Lincoln talk at the Gettysburg Address. And there's a picture of the kid when he was there. So, if that is 100% accurate, no wonder they win all the $1 billion prizes. They can hack the lottery. I mean, it's been proven that they can do that. Multiple lawsuits have been settled out of court because the lottery can be hacked. But nevertheless, whenever it's $1 billion, something always malfunctions, and someone always wins in a little town in California. So that's all I'm going to say about that, but it just fits with the narrative that we're talking about here, about the federal government scamming the American people. Any way, shape, or form that they can scam us, they do it. And we willingly give them our money. And the reason that we play the lotto is because we hope, we pray that one day we can make enough money to get out of the voluntary slavery. And it's not, there is no light at the end of the tunnel, sadly. There is nothing that we can do unless you become internet famous or you invest wisely that is going to get you out of that voluntary slavery. Because the system was designed for you to work till you die to make them rich. That is what they want. That is the way they want to keep it going. That is why we're in this situation that we're currently in, where the federal government that is running within, not Trump's administration, the elites, the controllers, the shadow government that is running within our government, that is fighting tooth and nail against the current administration, Trump and his team. A lot of people don't realize this, that everything he's doing, they're stopping at every avenue because they do not want to help you. They don't want to help the American people, and they don't want to see Trump help the American people. I don't agree 100% with the big beautiful bill just because it seems to favor more of the ultra wealthy, rich people. People who have billions and trillions of dollars and can bring manufacturing here to the U.S., get huge tax breaks and all that stuff. That's cool that we're bringing companies into the U.S. and we are making it to where they're making stuff within our country. But that same token, it doesn't do nothing for the little guy, the little American people here. We don't get nothing for that. We are getting very small tax breaks when we were told that they were just going to abolish the IRS because it was illegal for them to do what they've been doing to us for all this time. They are not supposed to be levying taxes from the American people, but it was so profitable, they just kept doing it. They amended the Constitution so they could do it. So we've got this deal with Trump trying to arrange peace deals with Russia and Ukraine. He had him brought to the table. Russia agreed. And instead, Ukraine over here wants to keep fighting. They do not want peace. Well, why is that? Well, maybe it's because of the biolabs that they have in Ukraine, the child trafficking that they allow in Ukraine. Maybe, just maybe, it's because of the money laundering scheme that they've got going on in Ukraine. Maybe, just maybe, it's because of this whole lie about Chernobyl and what's really going on there. It's the only place in history that has had a nuclear reactor go off, and 40 years later, it's still got so much radiation that nobody can even go there. I call BS. I believe 100% that Chernobyl was the first 15-minute city. It was a test. And then after that test was done, and they checked out the whole radiation scenario, there is all kinds of crime and corruption underneath and around that area. And what better way to keep people out than to tell them that it's still radioactive from a nuclear incident that happened 40 years ago. That's another topic too. But anyways, so they were talking about doing peace deals, and all out of the blue, Ukraine gets permission from NATO on Lindsey Graham's authority to strike Russia. And they do. They send many bombs over there, and they hit many targets, airplanes, bases, whatnot, within Russia. Now, our Department of Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, nor our President, Donald Trump, knew anything about this. Like I said, a government within a government, a shadow government running within the government, trying to stop everything and unravel and cause mischief. Now, if this internal government can cause World War III, they would be just fine. Because remember, there was a lady just shortly ago that was on Tucker Carlson who told everybody about the $21 trillion underground cities that they have been putting together for many years, mainly under the Bush administration. So they could go into these underground cities and be just fine if they get us into a nuclear war. Remember, I've told you on several videos that they want to reduce the population by 80%. What better way than a nuclear war? They keep poking the bear, Russia, and having NATO sign off on it. Our own president didn't even know what happened. Neither did the Department of Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. Nobody knew what happened, but it still happened. Trump spoke to Vladimir Putin, and he said there will be a response back to Ukraine because it's only fair. He's not going to sit there and let them attack him, and he's not going to do nothing. That's not going to happen. So he is going to send a response back. The problem that we run into in our current country, and we're learning because there's phones everywhere, there's X, there's people that are trying to get the truth out to everybody. This shadow government that is running within is the most corrupt, elitist people that you will ever hear about, see about, read about whenever it comes out, if it ever does. I'm talking the Epstein people, the Diddy people, the people who have been in charge, really, of our country for many, many, many years. Russia, Vladimir Putin himself came out and said on live TV that most every war throughout history has been started because of a CIA operative or some sort of operative that had a false flag deal so that way they could start a war. And if you've ever seen the movie The Sum of All Fears, which I've talked about many, many times, in that movie, Iran gets a hold of an old nuclear weapon. They arm it. They have all these Ukrainian scientists in a secret lab put it all back together and send it to the U.S. Then, once it's in the U.S. and they detonate it, they have a rogue general within Russia that they paid off start attacking a U.S. ship. That way, it looks like Russia had attacked the U.S. with a nuke as well as started attacking our ships, when none of it was actually even real. But it set the two countries on a collision course for nuclear war. Now, it is a movie, but if you see what is going on in reality with Ukraine, with NATO signing off on attacks within Russia, and our president and our Department of Defense knows nothing about it, tell me that that is not the same exact thing that they were doing in that movie. Because if they can get these two, or China and the US, or any of these superpowers to fight each other based on a lie, they win. Because they already have the $21 trillion underground bunker. All they have to do is head down there, start this collision course between the US and another country, whether it be Russia, China, wherever, and they're safe, and we're all eliminated. That's what they want. We have gotten too big. The population has gotten too big. They cannot control us like they used to. They used to be able to control us because they controlled all the newspapers, the news. There was not cameras in everybody's hands. There was not phones. They could control the narrative. Now, they're having trouble. Everybody is seeing what's going on. Everybody is hearing what's going on. And the only thing that pisses me off more than anything is we all know what is going on and nothing is being done about it. But then we ask ourselves, what can we do about it? When we found out that the 2020 election was stolen and we tried to go to the Capitol and peacefully protest, people were put in prison without due process, left there for 4 years to rot. No lawyers, no nothing. They just considered them terrorists. But yet we have the same thing going on right now with Democrats, these elites. We even have Sean Diddy Combs in custody, and nothing's being done. We have Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's confidant. She's the only one that's in jail serving any time. Well, they say Epstein unalived himself, even though we know for a fact that that's not true. And we've got Bongino and Kash Patel saying that they seen the video and he was the only one there. Okay, I believe that 100% that he was the only one there, but it was a fake video. He did not unalive himself. He is still alive. Whether he be on his island or he be in this underground city, the man is still alive. He is going to be either protected at all costs or he's going to be killed somewhere else, because with what he knows and what he has seen, that would literally put an end to our federal government. There would be no more federal government with what that man knows. So it's a little unnerving to hear. I mean, I watch Dan Bongino all the time. I love that man. I mean, he does great with his podcast, and I think that he has a great head on his shoulders. But to hear him say that there's really nothing there, that he's seen the video and he knows that Epstein unalived himself. Now, I did another video a while back, and I talked about how powerful these elites are and how much pressure they can put on someone. And I sincerely hope that they're not doing that, and they're not putting pressure on Mr. Bongino or Kash Patel. But it just is a whole different scenario than when he was on his podcast, to where now he is the second in command of the FBI. I mean, we want to see results. And there, for the longest time, Pam Bondi said that she had the Epstein files on her desk and that she was going to release them, and we would all get to see finally what was going on. Well, then she said that the FBI wouldn't give them to her. She's having trouble getting them, and she was advancing her career on Fox News, and now she's shooting a movie, and we hear nothing from Pam Bondi. Nothing is being done with the evidence that has been presented to the American people. We've seen it. We know what's going on. We know for a fact that most of our lives we have been lied to about one thing or another. Take the moon landing, for instance. Let's go to a different track here. In 1960-something, we were able to fly to the moon with a car on the spacecraft, land, drive around, talk on a telephone to the president via landline, drive that car around, take samples, set up cameras to video for when we landed and when we took off. But we've never been able to do it again. It's a lie. A lie, a lie, a lie. Look at the Tartarian Empire. There's a lot of information there that goes hand in hand. The Tartarian Empire and the orphan trains, if you look those up, they go hand in hand with how they shaped our history. A lot of the stuff that we know today was fabricated. It was put into the minds of the orphan train kids. Over 200,000 kids were indoctrinated with the knowledge that they wanted to pass forward to make the history seem like it was really what they told us. Most of it isn't true. How do we even find out what our real history was? How do we really find out what really happened in our world? When you have these elitists, these people who do nothing but lie, cheat, steal to make sure their narrative stays the way they want it and their pockets stay lined with lots of money. Like I said, we could bat around to the wee hours on a lot of these topics, and we'll get more in depth on them here real soon. But I just wanted to get on here and just talk a little bit about this, because that is what they want, people. They want an all-out world war to eliminate the population, because their COVID biolab deal failed. Their monkeypox failed. Their geoengineering with these storms is failing. The chemtrails failing. They're not getting the results that they want. Project Bluebeam, where they're starting fires everywhere, it's just not getting the numbers reduced as fast as they would like. Now, if they can reduce the population by 80% in an all-out World War III, that would definitely get the numbers they're trying to achieve. And that's what they want. That's why they're doing things behind our current president's back without his knowledge. So, yeah, that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys like and subscribe. I know I don't do as many videos as most people, but I also work a full-time job, so I try to do them when I can. So, I love you all. We'll see you on the next video. I hope you have a great day.